Here we go. You are about to experience the Skip Bayless Show, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So I start with this. Bear with me, hang with me, stick with me. What do Micah Parsons and Baker Mayfield have in common? Well, in my world, a whole lot. Let me explain. What these two have in common for me is guts, resilience, patience, hanging in, hanging tough. And I don't mean Micah or Baker, I mean me. What these two have in common are that with Baker Mayfield, I planted my flag early. I said before his draft, I would take him first overall and that he will live up to that. And then for what seemed like 100 years, it was really 4 long years, all I heard from the outside in was, he's a bust. You got to give it up. You were wrong about Baker Mayfield. No, I said, I will be right about Baker Mayfield if, of course, he gets some opportunity somewhere, which eventually he obviously did in Tampa. I hung in and hung on for Baker Mayfield because I believed in Baker Mayfield. Micah Parsons, as you know, I was all in on as a rookie. Didn't see him coming before the draft. Was a little surprised he fell all the way to 12th in the draft. Kept hearing at Penn State he was very immature and close to uncoachable. So he fell into Jerry Jones' lap at 12 after the Eagles could have taken him and didn't, even though there was the recent report that they were another team that did try to trade for him. Probably tried to steal him if I know Howie Roseman. But even though I was so all in on Micah as a rookie to the point that on TV we had a video made, thanks to the great DJ Steve Porter, a My Oh Micah 11 from Heaven video. This is when he was a rookie. I was that all in, but then I expected sophomore, junior, senior years in Dallas for him to live up, and more up to 11 from Heaven, the nickname I gave him, and he lived down, and farther down to what I had built him up to be. I was definitely wrong about Micah after his rookie year because I did overreact. So now that he has gone to heaven in Green Bay, where Jerry sent him, I'm going to have to hang in and hang on and hang tough with my ultimate opinion of Micah Parsons, which is can't be trusted long term. I'm going to have the guts and the courage of my convictions and the resilience and the sheer gumption just to hang in with that opinion going forward that Micah will finally expose himself to Packer Nation the way he always exposed himself in big games as a Dallas Cowboy. Down the stretch of Cowboy seasons, he got exposed because he got worn down and finally worn completely out. And I'm here to tell you, I believe that will happen. It doesn't look good right now because he fell into the perfect place at the perfect time with a top 5 defense that he's now making, as we speak, a top 1 defense. He has turned back into the baddest pass rusher on the planet because he's operating alongside 3 other former first-round picks across the Green Bay defensive front. Way to go, Micah. Congratulations, Micah. For now. Green Bay has played 2 home games, 2 big stage home games, one a late afternoon window game, and then obviously a Thursday night game in which Micah detonated a team, a town, and a nation, Packer Nation. And everybody involved, including the fandom, have just exploded around the presence of Micah Parsons, who they think is something he's really not. And he has played shot out of a cannon for the first two games, especially the Thursday night game, and after which I posted a video. I give up, I give in to Micah Parsons, but I'm just reacting in the moment, to what I just saw. Eye test told me, man, I haven't seen him play like this since his rookie year in Dallas 4 years ago. Now back to Baker Mayfield. Just to remind you of the hell I went through over Baker Mayfield. I said he should go one in the draft over Sam Darnold. Everybody laughed at me. The media loved Sam Darnold. He was a Darnold darling for the media. Loved him at SC. They did. I didn't. I thought he was a mistake maker. I didn't like his poise. I didn't like his command of the hardest position to play in sports. And I watched him closely at USC, University of Southern California, out here in LA from where I speak. I said, no, Baker's got it. Baker's got fire in belly. Baker is spit fire. Baker has Tebow-esque intangibles in that he just wills his team to victory, even though he has a much better and more accurate arm than Tim Tebow had in that 1 year he got to play in Denver. And those years he got to play at Florida. Baker has that intangible will. I'll just make it happen. He made it happen his first year in Cleveland when he joined a team that had the first pick because it had gone 0-16 the year before and 1-15 the year before that. So what's that? 1-31 over the previous 2 years, and here came Baker. Finally got his shot under Hugh Jackson. He won 7 games for a team that had gone 0-16. 7 games his rookie year. And he eventually won Cleveland's first playoff game in, what was it, since like 1993, I believe that's the date. It was in forever that Cleveland had won a playoff game, and he had help, but he led them to Pittsburgh against their division arch rival, the Steelers at Steelers, and beat them in a playoff game. That's pretty great. Then he got banged up, had the labrum tear in his left shoulder, still tried to suck it up and play through it because he will play through anything. You want to talk about pain tolerance? See Baker Mayfield. I know they all get hurt. They all get banged up, but he stays banged up because he takes a lot of abuse, because he takes a lot of risks at quarterback. They tried to force feed Odell into the mix, and Odell and Baker had actually gone on a vacation together. They actually liked each other, and they didn't click on the football field. I don't know why. I think Odell Beckham Jr. never wanted to play in Cleveland, Ohio, never got comfortable with having to live, at least briefly, in Cleveland, Ohio. And for whatever reason, on the field, Baker began to force the ball to Odell. I mean, we know why he did that, but Odell was banged up, beat up, had been through a couple surgeries, and just had lost a step. And the more Baker forced it to him, the more covered he got. They're doubling him every time because they know you're going to be Odell-centric. And it was a disaster. Baker's forcing throws he shouldn't force. They're not spreading the ball. They're not playing to Baker's instincts, which are high level, high football IQ to go along with the intangible will and a whip of an arm and sneaky athletic ability. He ran 4.8 in the 40, which is, it's pretty fast for a quarterback. 6'1"-ish, maybe not even, 215-ish, 220-ish. A couple of years he got a little heavy. I think he's really found the right nutritionist, the right off-season workout schedule, to do the right things to make him look a lot more fit than he did for a while there in Cleveland as he was banged up. And you know what happened. It became a disaster. And Kevin Stefanski, once again, I'm going to get to Stefanski a little later in the show as it applies to Shedeur Sanders. Kevin Stefanski kept messing Baker over, kept dissing him to the media, Stefanski, I don't know, he comes across like really solid guy. I don't think he's a solid guy. I think he's a blame deflector, finger pointer, kiss ass to the owner, talks a good game, doesn't play a good game, and played dirty with Baker Mayfield. I'd like to talk to Baker off the record, or just be a fly on the wall when Baker was reminiscing about his days with Kevin Stefanski. I think that conversation would get ugly, because it got ugly between Stefanski and Baker. Somehow Stefanski won that. They dump him. You know the rest of the story. He goes to Carolina, had a great first game for a bad team, and bad went to worse, and it just got to be a mess, and he gets cut, and he has to fly all the way to L.A. for a Thursday night game. He gets there like 48 hours before, and he lights up the Raiders on Thursday Night Football by throwing a late touchdown pass that wins the game. Interesting. Muddles through the rest of the year. They're banged up, beat up. He learns from Sean the best he can, but he's not in the plans there. And he gets a shot in Tampa preseason. He's got to win the job over Kyle Trask, and he did. And the rest is becoming Tampa Bay history. Baker Mayfield stepped in the winged cleats of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. in Tampa. And they just keep winning the division. Interesting. And when he re-upped with Tampa, when he could have gone to Atlanta, but he re-upped with Tampa for a reasonable, it's $30-ish million. Bargain by Baker Mayfield standards. Remember what Jason Light, his GM, said at the press conference representing Baker Mayfield to Bucs Nation. At the press conference, he sat elbow to elbow with Baker, and he called Baker to his face and to the world a 10 on the prick scale. And he meant that as the ultimate compliment that no quarterback in the history of quarterbacks has ever been paid. He's a competitor at the highest, most abrasive level. He'll battle, he'll scrap, he'll scratch, he'll claw, he'll fight, he'll trash talk. Did you see him the other night get in the face of C.J. Gardner-Johnson during the game at Houston? Late in that game, got right in his face. God knows what was spat back and forth, not literally, but verbally between those two. That's Baker Mayfield. You hate him if you're on the other team. You love him if he's in your locker room, because he's the greatest prick ever. He's just got that something that rubs the other teams the wrong way and rubs your locker room the best way. Players have always loved him. They loved him in Carolina. They loved him in Cleveland. And here he comes again. What are we up to, year 3 in Tampa? He's still a young man. He's really just entering into his prime. And he opens up at Atlanta, division rival. A lot of people thought Atlanta would win this division, and who knows, maybe they'll make a run. They're a good football team. They're playing at home in the opener. And Baker Mayfield, on the final possession, there was one last one that required a missed kick, obviously, but on the final Tampa possession of the game, it gets to be 3rd and 10 at the 50. Baker Mayfield throws a rocket to Sterling Shepard for 10 yards and a first down. Saved the game. A couple of plays later, he goes bombs away up top. deep post, back of end zone to the kid Abuka from Ohio State, the rookie. Touchdown, game winner. Did take a late miss kick by Atlanta by Koo. But still, how clutch was that? Because as I've said, going back to before the draft, Baker Mayfield is clutch. Just me. There's nobody I would rather see with the ball in his hands if my ass is on the line late in the game than Baker Mayfield. That's just me. We can fight all day about how clutch Mahomes used to be or how clutch Josh Allen has proven to be here even of late against the Ravens late in that they're down 40-25 opener game. I got you. There's just something about the catalyst that is Baker Mayfield, the team igniter that is Baker Mayfield, the team lifter that is Baker Mayfield. He's just going to make a play, as you saw in the first of the 2 Monday night games this week. They had blunder after special teams blunder. They missed a 38-yard field goal. They got a punt blocked. They had a 53-yard punt returned on them. So special teams have lost the game. Baker's down both of his tackles, left and right tackle. And that rookie receiver from Ohio State is shown on the sideline getting his groin wrapped. And I thought in a previous series, Baker threw him a touchdown pass at the goal line that he just couldn't lunge for. It was just right there for him to sort of leave his feet and catch at the goal line. Couldn't move. So 2 minutes left and they're down 5. And what does Baker Mayfield do? 3rd and 10. He rolls right, bolts the pocket, being chased. They couldn't block Texans. Texans have a top 5 defense. They're all over Baker all night. And Baker cuts loose a dime, a dot, and hits Abuka right there, just right there. It's a beautiful throw. It's an all-time clutch throw. Dropped. So now it's 4th and 10. And what does Baker do? Sneaky athletic, 4.8 40. Can run a little bit. Can make you miss. He slithers through the rush that is collapsing all around him. He escapes up the middle. He veers left. He catapults, somersaults for a first down. And you could just see the Tampa sideline goes berserk. They have Baker and you don't. That's the attitude of that team now. We have him and you don't have him. You're about to get him right between the eyes. And you know the rest of the story. Bucky Irving gets loose on a swing pass, and it's just one thing after another. It's completion after completion after completion. And all of a sudden, Rachaad White bangs it home from 2 yards out after a completion to Cade Otton. And that's it. Ball game at the buzzer. Tampa wins. So Baker has now gone on the road against 2 pretty good teams, at Atlanta, at Houston, and clutched up late in both games. Didn't look like a bust to me. I don't know about you, but I cannot drive home to you the depth of the crap I took for about 3 long years over Baker Mayfield. Much of it on national TV. Heck, a lot of it just from my friends. I don't know how many times friends of mine said, you got to give it up on Baker Mayfield. Even friends of mine from Oklahoma. Even my man Lil Wayne, who had a couple of player clients in Cleveland that he was close to, and he liked Baker for a while. And then even Lil Wayne texted me one day during a show I was doing on live national TV on Undisputed and said, you've got to give it up on Baker. He's trash. Or as Wayne said, he trash. And maybe he looked like trash at that moment, but the one thing I have prided myself on, if anything, in my career, is persistence. is patience, is resilience, is hanging in to what you believe. You have to have an opinion that you believe in. I'm not a shock jock. So I evaluate carefully, and then I plant my flag just the way Baker planted Oklahoma's flag at midfield on the Ohio State logo at the shoe when they won there on one fateful Saturday night, one of the great OU rooting nights I've had in my time of rooting for my Oklahoma Sooners in Oklahoma City. A lot of people said, well, you just love Baker because he's an Oklahoma quarterback. No, false, wrong. See Jason White. I can go on, but Jason White won the Heisman Trophy, and I said on national TV with him on the show, he can't play pro football, and Jason didn't love that. Then what was that Sam guy's name, another Heisman Trophy winner? I said before somebody, I think the then St. Louis Rams gave him, what was it, $50 million guaranteed to be the first overall pick. Sam Bradford. And I just said going in, no. He gets hurt too often. He's a statue in the pocket, scarecrow in the pocket, doesn't stand strong. And I dug in and I was right. So it's not about, it's not just rooting blindly for anybody who played for Oklahoma. I did like Baker, and then I did like Kyler, and I do like Jalen. I'm going a little past tense on Kyler right now because I'm not completely sure. I like him, but I don't love him. I love Jalen, and I quadruple love Baker. I don't think he's better than Jalen, but they're two peas really in the same pod, in that a lot of people didn't like them coming out of college. Jalen obviously fell to the second round, probably would have fallen to the fourth round if not for the great Howie Roseman in Philadelphia, the best GM in football. And to some extent me, because I immediately tweeted about Jalen Hurts, he will change life in Philadelphia. Well, I didn't tweet this about Baker because I couldn't have imagined him having to wind up in Tampa to finally plant his flag. But he is changing life in Tampa. He was starting to change life in Cleveland. The only issue I ever had with Baker Mayfield, the only issue was I didn't like the progressive commercials at home with Baker Mayfield. I thought it was a bad idea. I said so. I tweeted so. Bad idea. You're a rookie in the National Football League. You have proven zero, except that you were the first pick in the draft. And just because progressive was based or is based in Cleveland, they were acutely aware of Baker Mayfield's it factor and his presence in Cleveland, Ohio. And so it made him even more desirable as their national pitchman for progressive. And they were great commercials. They were funny commercials. I liked all of them. They were clever. They were creative. They were amazing. And he's really a pretty gifted actor. I thought his wife did a good job. But the target on his back got bigger and bigger and bigger because they bombarded the world with those commercials. They bombarded every player watching every Monday night game or whatever it was with Baker Mayfield commercials. You just can't do it because you're not good enough yet with a good enough team to overcome that. Just that you increase the pressure and expectation that you can't live up to yet because the team was 0-16. But all he did while the commercials are airing is win 7 games for an 0-16 team. And I said, that'll work. I thought he should have been Rookie of the Year. We could go on and on about that. But given the degree of difficulty, given the coaching and the disaster that became that team in other ways, Baker was extraordinary as a rookie, given the degree of difficulty, much of which he heaped on himself with those commercials. So I did criticize that, but then we went into this drought of injuries and being cut and stumbling and fumbling around the league as this sort of journeyman near bust quarterback. And I heard so much, so often from so many people, you've got to give it up. And I wouldn't give it up. Eric Mangini used to say, going back to my first take days, you love hard. Well, yeah, I do, but I love strong, because if I do love, and I'll tell you, if I completely swung and missed, I'm about to get back into Micah. I swung and missed on Micah, but I could only react to what he showed me as a rookie. And then I said what I saw from that moment on. But with Baker, I'm not going to back off, because I knew in my heart of hearts, my deepest, strongest instinct told me he can play in this league at a high level. I saw it as a rookie. I saw it. But it was a long, hard time. It's like an endless winter of 3 years, like snowbound for 3 years, with people telling me, give it up, give it up, give it up, and I wouldn't give it up on Baker Mayfield. And look at him now. And if I may say so myself, my prediction on the game the other night was low-scoring game. Baker will pull it out 20-17. That was my prediction. And it was 20-19. Close enough. That's my belief in Baker Mayfield to beat C.J. Stroud at C.J. Stroud with a top 5 defense in Houston. Pulled it off. I think they're going to be a factor in the NFC postseason. In the NFC, I know Green Bay has emerged, but I still think it's more open than people give it credit for being. I still love the Eagles. I still really like the Rams. We're going to see Rams at Eagles. We'll see what happens there. I'll get to that in just a moment. But Detroit, are they closer to the team that got annihilated at Green Bay and completely overmatched, or the one that annihilated the Bears? Probably closer to the one at Green Bay. I'm not sure about them with those 3 new offensive linemen across the middle. Back to the Packers. So in just the way I hung in and hung on for dear life with Baker Mayfield, I'm going to hang in and hang on for dear life with Micah not being Micah. He's not my Micah. My former 11 from heaven has become my 11 from hell in Green Bay, because he lucked into the perfect place for him. He lucked into it. Jerry Jones finally saw the light. He's been a disaster against the run as a Dallas Cowboy. I'm sorry, he just has. I can't get out of my mind. Only diehard Cowboy fans will appreciate this and validate me and vindicate me on this, that Micah Parsons was on the football field for every play of New Orleans and Alvin Kamara coming to Dallas in week 2 of last year. It just was a year ago, right now, week 2. It was 35-16 New Orleans at halftime. We literally got run off the field, 190 rush yards we gave up to the Saints, who were, we didn't know it at that moment, on their way to disaster. Now a lot of people think they're the worst team. That team scored 35 in the first half against a Micah Parsons-led defense. Fact. Week 3, Baltimore comes to Jerry World and rushes for 274 yards, and it's 28-6 Baltimore going into the fourth quarter. Fact. So what am I supposed to think about Micah Parsons? That, off those 2 games, sure, Jerry, make him the highest paid defensive player ever, and please make him the highest paid non-quarterback in all the land. That's what I want. Sure, that's what I want. I picked Philadelphia to win the Super Bowl before last season. So here they came against Dallas twice. They win 34-6 and 41-7. They rush for 100 and 87 yards the first game and 179 the second game. Micah played every snap of both games. What am I supposed to do with that? Did he wreck the game the way he wrecked some games when he was a rookie? No, he did not. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm going to say it one more time. What was I supposed to do with 4 playoff games that I watched very carefully with Micah Parsons playing all the way through each of the 4, healthy, as healthy as you could be at that time of year. And he registers 1 sack late in the game at Tampa against the 8-9 Bucks, featuring 45-year-old Tom Brady in his swan song game. 129 left, Micah sacked 45-year-old Tom Brady. That's his only sack in 4 playoff games. 2 no-shows against San Francisco, a complete and utter goose egg across the stat sheet no-show. A flat-out straight Casper the Unfriendly Ghost game, ghosted us against the Green Bay Packers in a home playoff game that we were down 27-0 before halftime. Before halftime? I still haven't gotten over it. What am I supposed to do with that? Oh, we got to pay Micah. Really? No, we don't have to pay Micah. Green Bay, I told you, good riddance in Dallas, good luck there. But maybe this is the classic case of he needed to go somewhere else and we needed a fresh start. I still believe the Cowboys can be a pretty good team this year. They survived the Giants. And I still say we'll be a better team, T-E-A-M team, without Micah Parsons. I still believe that what happened in Dallas will eventually repeat itself. Maybe it won't be this year. Maybe they're going to win the chip. Green and gold. But gold will turn into fool's gold at some point down the line with Micah Parsons, because it just will. I know this in my heart of hearts. Deep down in my soul, I know he will turn into the fool's gold that he was in Dallas. Obviously, in Dallas over the last 3 years, he played with nothing near the energy and the emotion, the electricity, the intensity, the chip on shoulder anger that he has flashed regularly, consistently as a Green Bay Packer. We just didn't, for the last 3 years, we did not get that. He got sacks here and there just because he's gifted. Speed and quickness sacks, not a physical football player. Over his years since he entered the league, 5th in sacks in the league, 5th in quarterback hits in the league. Give you that. Very good, but not the best. Nope. I don't see it. Never saw it. Neither will Green Bay at some point. The real Micah will, instead of stand up, sit down. The real Micah will sit down right before your very eyes. He gets worn down and worn out over time because he's not a huge football player. He's not an extremely physical football player. He just gets engulfed by 330-pound tackles, chip blocks. He just wears down. In Dallas, I believe he put it in cruise control over the last 3 years because he convinced himself, or his agent or people around him convinced him, Jerry will eventually, sooner than later, make you the highest paid defensive player ever. And he was just coasting and counting his money before he had been paid. That's what I believe. So now, he said the other night, post-game show on Prime after the Thursday night game, I'm playing angry. Well, God bless you, young man. Made me angry because I didn't see him ever play angry in Dallas. He played free, happy as a rookie. He just, sort of ignorance is bliss. You just sort of start playing on your talent. They don't know how to defend you. You move them around the formation. Just on sheer speed and quickness, he's getting to the quarterback, wrecking games. League started figuring him out. Run at him. Neutralize him by running at him. So what's happened in Green Bay? He has been front running and not had to play the run. What were the snaps? It was like 40, well, no, it was 30-some snaps, 32 snaps the first game. 6 running plays out of 32 because they're playing from ahead. They're jumping all over people at home on big stage games. Next was 47 snaps, I think, on the Thursday night game, and 7 were against the run. Okay? So you couldn't attack his weakness because he's playing from his strength. You have to throw because you're behind, and he can pin proverbial ears back and literally chase the quarterback. He chased down Jared Goff with a blindside ambush sack, and he chased Jaden Daniels. Jaden's looking over his shoulder, running up through the pocket, and didn't see a tackler who hit him low and sprained his knee. And now he's iffy for Sunday. That was a Micah play. I give you that. Micah shot out of a cannon. He can really run. I mean, he ran 4.39 at 250-ish before the draft. He can do that. I give you that. But was he a leader in Dallas? No. 2 team leaders took public shots at him for prioritizing his podcast over becoming a better football player. DeMarcus Lawrence did that. Malik Hooker did that. Both did it publicly. That's significant to me. So, prediction, while I give it up to Micah now, I am predicting that over time, he will reveal himself to be not a leader, more of a solo act, social media obsessed, at least as obsessed with becoming a social media star, podcast star, a celebrity socially, as he is with becoming a great football player. I think that will be revealed. I think there'll be a point where somebody in the locker room will say something about him when it gets dark up there. The days are very short and the nights are long. In Green Bay, when you're snowed in, something will go sideways, and either Michael will sort of reveal himself, or teammates, it will come clear what he's not. What he's not is why Jerry did the right thing not to pay him and keep him in Dallas. The right thing. Now, again, not to be a hypocrite, I did say, I didn't know what would get offered in trade. I do like Kenny Clark. He had a sack early the other day against the Giants, and I think he's really good for our defense and will be. I know we gave up, whatever it was, 506 yards through an overtime. It was like 5 quarters, but I would have just relit the fire under Micah. I would have kept him for 1 more year and just said, I got you under contract. You got the 5th year of your rookie deal. You just play it out. What was it? 23 or 4 million. Still pretty good money, but I would have just said, no, you got to show me more. Show me you can play the run. I would have tried to remotivate him by not paying him for 1 more year. Again, you'd risk losing him, but you still got the tag. If you want to tag him, would he always be, Jerry finally decided he'd just be terminally unhappy and could become not just a distraction, but I hate the C word, cancerous, but you become that. You become toxic in the locker room. And I think Jerry finally decided it's almost like the Jerry Jimmy. At some point, Jerry just pulled the plug on Jimmy because it had gotten so bad. If you saw the Cowboy documentary, as I was saying in the documentary, it got so bad, it was never going to get better. Could Jerry have figured out Jimmy for 1 more championship? Maybe, but I think both of them had hit the wall with each other. And so Jerry at least had the ownership perspective and guts to just say, This is going no farther. I'm pulling the plug. They still got another Super Bowl out of it with my guy, Barry Switzer. Way to go, Barry. The point is, I'm going to hang in and I'm going to hang on with Micah, Aaron, Parsons. I'm not wishing him ill. I'm not wishing evil on him. I don't do that. Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby, if you know Talladega Nights. I don't do that. I don't want that. I don't wish that. I'm just telling you that he is what he's not. And what he's not will come clear to you over time in Green Bay. But I'm going to have to hang in because the odds are they're going to keep winning games. But we do have a game a week from Sunday in Dallas. I believe, I'll save my prediction until next week, but I do believe the Cowboys will play their asses off in that game, this upcoming game, just the way they did at Philadelphia. They'll play what I call good scared, with what Coach Popovich used to call the appropriate fear, because you're fearing that you'll get blown off your own turf. And they will rise and shine in that game. I kind of like Dallas' chances to win that game, but I'll get to that next week. And by the way, speaking of gambling, FanDuel's getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you will unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, you can bet player props, you can ride the live lines, whatever your style, FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. I don't know if you've noticed, but it's on top of us, and the games just get greater and greater, more and more exciting. The only question is, are you ready to play? I mean, play yourself. Visit FanDuel.com/skip. Use my first name, SKIP, to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com/skip, SKIP. Okay, speaking of picks, I've got mine. This week's picks. All right, Thursday night, it's not a great game. We got Buffalo at home against the plummeting Dolphins. I'm going to give the points. I never give double-digit points in NFL games. You say they're both NFL teams, but I just think Buffalo is so explosive, and it is a division rival, and I think they'll just shellac them, hammer them, obliterate them, and win by a couple of touchdowns, maybe 17. It'd be fairly close. I think it'll go to the wire on that one, but I'll give the 12 to the Dolphins, the visiting Dolphins. Then speaking of my Cowboys, it's a tricky one. There was a lot I didn't like Sunday at home against the Giants, but we won, and I believe we're going to win again. So we are getting 1.5. It opened at 2.5, so the bettors are mostly on the Cowboys. But I will take Dallas plus the 1.5 at Chicago against Caleb and company. And finally, the Lions getting 5.5 at the Ravens. I told you the Lions are probably closer to that team that got obliterated. This pick is more about the Ravens. There's just something, I don't know what it is. There's something missing in the Ravens. They're going to win the game, but they're going to win it by 3 or 4, not by 5.5. So I'm going to take the 5.5 because Detroit did find itself, scored 52 at home, obviously against the Bears, 52-21. I don't know. You'll watch the first half and think Baltimore is way better than Detroit, and then slowly but surely, Detroit will sort of creep back into it. And you'll say, what are you guys doing? And you won't be able to explain it. And you'll say, maybe they should fire John Harbaugh. Maybe Lamar isn't that dude. But I'm going to take the 5.5 with Detroit because it's a lot of points for a team that a lot of people were picking to win the NFC. All right. Cheers. Speaking of my Cowboys, before I get to my main thrust of this topic, so many people said that game against the Giants was the most entertaining game of the year. So far, it's early, but top 5, a lot of people told me, of most entertaining games they've ever watched because so many points got scored in the fourth quarter. And I laughed to myself because For me, lifelong diehard Cowboy fan with my pride on my sleeve and on the line, publicly, nationally over this team, that was as painful a game as I ever watched, as I've ever watched the Dallas Cowboys play, where I have my strongest rooting interest. My one with Oklahoma and Vanderbilt is high, but it's not quite like this. So the fourth quarter for me was just excruciating. It was just torture. It was just punishment. Seriously, it just ripped me apart. I was wrung out and exhausted after that game because I thought we had lost it 15 times. And I loved that we just won the game. That's what I kept saying. We won. All I care about is we won the game that we would have lost last year. I think we won it for the new coach. I think they really like playing for that coach. And I loved the locker room scene after the game. I got to see, they showed the video on one of the networks. I forget which one. New young coach Schottenheimer, Brian Schottenheimer, is reading off a checklist of achievements in the game. We did this. Yeah, we did this. Yeah. And the team seemed really into the yeah of it. CD seemed really into the yeah. I think they bought into the new coach. I think they like winning for and playing hard for the new coach. Obviously, there are all kinds of problems on defense. Eberflus, former Bears coach. I don't know. I thought they understood his zone defense, and then it just got absolutely shredded by Russell Wilson. They turned back his clock 10 years. He threw the football as well as I've ever seen him, including his glory days in Seattle. He was just flawless until finally in overtime. Late in overtime, he made one mistake, one for the whole game, and we capitalized. But the reason we won the game was the reason that I now proudly wear a number 17 jersey. Who in their right mind has ever purchased the jersey of his kicker? If he loves a team, maybe New England back in the day, Adam Vinatieri, the greatest clutch kicker ever. Okay, I got that. But even then, we've got Brady and the revolving door of stars that you had all through the dynastic years, all the way up to Gronk and Edelman, obviously, on and on. When you've got all that, you're going to buy those jerseys. You're not going to buy Adam Vinatieri's jersey. And a year ago, if you might remember, before, not this season, but last season, I bought a number 17 and wear it proudly because it's my kicker's jersey number. My kicker is Brandon Aubrey, and I am not exaggerating, embellishing. I'm not laying it on any too thick when I tell you he's the greatest kicker ever. I know he hasn't kicked that much in the clutch yet, but every time he's been tested, he has come through. And did he ever come through Sunday at home, a game in which, if you watched, we won because of him. He is the ultimate nuclear weapon in pro football. And I call him the greatest kicker ever because he has the greatest leg ever. He is effortless from 70 yards away. He is revolutionizing kicking. And so I'm here to explain to you, because those who've been with me for a while, and I love and bless all of you, thank you very much. You know how much I hate kicking, as in place kicking in football. I just hate it. I have from the start. There's a game, I can't remember which year it was. I think it was 84. You could look this up. I was covering for the Dallas Times-Herald, a Cowboy game that they lost in New Orleans on a Monday night. You could look this up. It could have been 83, but I'm pretty sure it was 84. Went to the wire. What was his name? Roger Ruzek was the kicker, and he missed at the buzzer. And that's when it occurred to me, I watched these valiant, mighty warriors, gifted pro football players, battle it out for 59 minutes and 59 seconds. And a little former soccer player who can't play football, has no place, no business on a football team, could never make the football team at any position, trots onto the turf and decides the game. And as I recall the lead to my column, if a Martian dropped out of the sky and into the stands one night and was sitting next to you watching the game, obviously the Martian's first ever NFL game, and he got to the end and he watched the little kicker miss, and you said to the Martian, "What'd you think of the game?" He said, "Well, it came down to that little guy who kicks the ball." And you'd say, "Well, that's just the kicker." And he'd say, No, that's the guy who obviously makes the most money of anybody on the field. That's the most important player on the field, is that guy who missed that kick at the end. Because the field goal, counting 3, is so overvalued that it tilts the scoreboard. Because if you get 4 chances, 5 chances in a game, if you make all 5, including a late one, you're probably going to win the game. It's a lot of points, 15 points. And it's so gimmicky as the most crucial part of our greatest game. Listen, I love the NBA, but again, the national pastime has gone from baseball to pro football and college football. I'll give you that. It's football is our national pastime. And yet football revolves around kicking an oblong ball off the ground up through these 2 weird uprights that it's almost like some corny, lame game show that somebody invented, and that's how it ends. What? You're going to decide the game that way? So I advocated from the start, dating back to that game in New Orleans on that Monday night, just abolish it. Just do away with it. It'd be a much better game. Maybe not much better, because I know people love I've always said about field goal kicking, you love it for all the wrong reasons, because it's such a roller coaster ride, because it's so silly, and kickers are so prone to going mentally south, psychologically south, that especially on last second kicks, they're just going to miss. Koo missed the one against, as I talked about, Baker and company on opening day. Or was that night? Opening day. And then last night, it looked like Tampa had blown the game because their kicker, what's his name, McLaughlin, misses a 38-yarder. A 38-yarder, and it could have been icing on the cake, and all of a sudden the gate is open, and CJ and company ran through it. They win and lose so many games that it's mind-blowing to me that you don't just abolish that part and just say, I want to see the offense. I want to see Dak and CD and Pickens make plays. Dak to pick, as Schottenheimer said in the locker room, Dak to pick. I want to see that. I want to see Baker make plays for first downs every 4th down. I want to see you go down the field and you have to get it in the end zone. Well, if that were the rule, my Cowboys would have lost on Sunday, right? But the point is, if you get down there and score, then you don't need to kick an extra point from like 45 yards away, because it became so routine. You just keep pushing it back. You just go for 2 every time. You need punters, because that's a different skill set. That's more strategic. Kicking to the coffin corner, trying to kick it out on the 4, 5, 6 yard line, trying to pin the team inside the 10 You have to catch a snap. Punters are always better athletes than kickers because they have to be able to catch a pretty deep snap on the fly. You got to have, be part receiver. And then the motion is much more athletic. It's not a soccer kick. It's a punt where you have to have a rhythm and you have to get it away before it gets blocked. And it's just a whole different skill set. And I love and respect punters. They're a very crucial strategic part of football. Do you punt or go for it? Well, when it's time to go for it, you don't go for a field goal from 70 yards. I mean, that's making the game even sillier. But here's my point of this whole discussion, and I've said this from the start, and I wrote this that next day in my column in the Dallas Times-Herald way back when. What was that? 17, 25, 40 some, whatever. It's forever ago. But I planted my flag early on this. Here's what I said. I hate place kicking. I hate the rules, but I will never, ever change the rules. They are grandfathered in. The game is too popular. Nobody ever, at least in my lifetime, will ever change that rule. Kicking will never be abolished. So there's only one way out of this. If I owned an NFL team, I would spend all the money I possibly could to find the greatest kicker ever because they are crucially important to making or breaking entire football seasons. 4 or 5 games, you just know if you're a pretty good team wanting to be very good, 4 or 5 games are going to come down to a place kick. Make them, and happy days are here again. Miss them, and it's devastation, it's darkness, it's what happened to us. The coaches on the hot seat, the quarterback's under fire. Can we find another quarterback? No, maybe you better find another kicker because they're a dime a dozen to most owners, including Jerry Jones for the most part. You just cycle them in and cycle them out, and they go musical chairs around the league, and what goes around comes back around, and you start over with another one, and you got another, he's over there and he's over here, and you can't keep up with them. And one thing I've learned, once they go south, you can't fix them. You have to go find the most physically gifted and mentally toughest kicker on the planet, and you have to invest in him and his coach. There's a coach back in the glory days of the 90s Cowboys documentary on Netflix. If you've missed it, you got to check it out, called America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, about Jerry and the 90s dynasty. They had a kicking coach by the name of Steve Hoffman, and he was just the best. And that's important. And Jerry did invest in Steve Hoffman because Jimmy told him, we got to have him. He'd been with Jimmy in Miami, went way back. Just crucial to the franchise because he can right the wrong in a kicker's head. He can talk the kicker off the ledge and talk his demons over the edge and down back into the abyss. But Jerry stumbled in to Brandon Aubrey. Brandon Aubrey, they told the story the other day on the telecast. He was a pro soccer player, played soccer at Notre Dame. Wound up, he's an engineer. He's going into engineering, sitting on the couch one night watching a game, and of course a kicker missed another big kick to win the game, lost the game. His wife said to him, well, you could do that. You could miss that. You're at least as good as that guy. And he said, yeah, you're right. Ends up going down to the local high school, kicks a few, made one from 60 and said, yeah, I should pursue this. USFL, he was very good, but he wasn't this. I don't know exactly who tipped Jerry or Will McClay, but some of their bird dogs, one of their scouts, let's bring him in, let's give him a shot. And I believe the rest is history. Now, could he go psychologically south tomorrow? Yes, they all do eventually. But in my life, I have never seen a kicker more effortlessly make kicks from 70 yards away. This was a 64-yarder that tied the game, sent it to overtime, but it would easily have been good from 70. And I don't think he hit it all that great. When he first hit it, I thought he had sliced it a bit. It seemed like it was starting to take off to the right, and then it straightened a little bit, and then it actually reversed spin, and it looked like it had, in the end, a little bit of hook, game-saving hook, that got it within the right upright from 64, and it would have been good from 70, because the power in that leg is nuclear. I've never seen anything like it before. And obviously, kickers are making them farther and farther. I saw a stat from my friend Jay Feely the other day about, there have already been X kicks this year over 60, 4 yards? But there have been X, and in the history of kicking before this year, there'd been that many. So you're seeing it being revolutionized right before your very eyes. But in case you're firing back at me right now, I get it that other teams have tried to go ahead and invest in drafting a kicker. And it inevitably blows up in their face, because the 49ers took Jake Moody in the third round. Kaboom, he's gone south and he's gone. And that Aguayo went in the second round, no, bust. Cade York, I thought he was going to be really good, out of LSU, fourth round, Carolina. He won the Carolina game. It was Baker's first game. And then he lost it. I can't explain it, because they're inexplicable human beings, these kickers. So I don't have the logical approach to this. I'm just trying to explain to you that if I owned a team, as much as I hate the rule, it's the rule. It allows you to kick for 3 points from any distance at any time. I mean, at the rate we're going, if the evolution continues, someday somebody will be making a 100-yard field goal, and it'll make a joke out of the game. They're going to have to do something different. They're going to have to move, close the uprights a little bit. Maybe boost them up in the air a little bit. You're going to have to change. It's like the height of the rim in basketball. How are you going to do this? Because what was hilarious to me, excruciatingly hilarious, was the throw of the game the other night was Dak at the end of regulation. He makes a throw. This is 14 seconds left in regulation, and he makes a throw to Jake Ferguson right up the middle. He just sort of turned in the middle of the zone. If you don't make this throw, you lose. Way to go, Dak. That was clutch. I don't love Dak in the postseason, but I do love him often in the regular season. And he makes a throw to Jake Ferguson that is just money for 18 yards, and it gets it to the 49 of the Cowboys. And yet I'm trying to do the math, and I'm thinking, wait a second, that's like a 67-yard field. It's going to be like the record NFL field goal. And then I'm thinking, well, I've got nuclear. I got Brandon Aubrey. I got 17. I'm wearing my jersey. I got 17. And you would think that the team would say, hurry, we got to go. Time's ticking down. We need 10 more yards to get something that we really trust that we can make. Let's throw it one more time. And what do? They give it to Javonte Williams up the gut and just eat the rest of the clock, because they don't really care. They're just positioning the ball where Brandon Aubrey wants it in the field. They're doing what you would do on a chip shot down at the 10-yard line. They're just trying to position I'm like, what? It has come to this. That's how good this young man is. This is what a life-changing weapon he is, that you're just saying, well, we're already in range. It's, whatever it is, 67, 64, doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So they get 3 more yards to get the ball where he likes it. And kaboom, 64 yards, good. So there's no sweat, there's no fret. There's no tension to it at all. I was, for the first time in the game, I was serene for the first time because I've got the best player on my team at his position is ready to do what he does. He doesn't do it very often, but when it's his time and his turn, I got that. Right now, Brandon Aubrey is better at his job than CD is at his, or Dak is at his, or Pick is at his, or name somebody on defense. I can't at this moment is better than he is at his. Anybody on defense, he's the best player on the team. Saw a quote on social media the other day, Brandon Aubrey for MVP. Well, you laugh. Oh, yeah, crazy. But if they can hang in and hang on and get him in position to win games even from 70 yards away, you might just have a case for him being MVP. It'll never happen because kickers, most people, they sort of grow up hearing that kickers are just interchangeable. They're irrelevant to the process. No, they're it. If you have Adam Vinatieri, he can actually make the dynasty. He can cement it with his foot. He didn't have anywhere near the leg of Brandon Aubrey, but he didn't make that one from 49. Now it seems like a chip shot, but from 49 to win the first Super Bowl against the then, St. Louis Rams. He made that from 49 yards at the buzzer to win Brady his first one. And he made those kicks in the snow. I was there. Snow job game, as I called it, the tuck rule game. I don't know how he made those kicks in the snow. It was just unbelievable. They weren't cross-country kicks, intergalactic kicks, but he did that. And a lot of people say, well, he was the reason they won those championships, not so much Brady. Well, in the end, it was Brady because he had the first 6 Super Bowls. He had game-winning drives in fourth quarter overtime in all 6. So stop that. But he did get a lot of help from a co-star, a co-MVP, you can make a case, in Adam Vinatieri. And now I've got an Adam Vinatieri with a thunderfoot. Well, it's gold. I got a chance. I will sleep better this coming Saturday night going into Sunday because of Brandon Aubrey. I will sleep in my number 17 jersey on Saturday night because it makes me sleep better knowing I have Brandon Aubrey and nobody else has Brandon Aubrey. So in the end, just so you understand my position on this, thank you, Jerry Jones, for doing one right thing. By hook or crook or however, if he fell into your lap out of heaven, you got us and you have signed us up for the duration with Brandon Aubrey, the greatest kicker ever. And that means we have a chance in every game because of 17. And I proudly wear the jersey of my kicker, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Whew. Now I'm saying this. Business owners are built differently, and there's nothing more satisfying than your business keeping up with you. That's the point and the message here. When shoppers choose to buy your products, turn them into loyal customers with cheaper, faster, and better shipping with ShipStation. There's a reason why so many successful businesses use ShipStation. ShipStation allows you to centralize label printing, order management, tracking, returns, and inventory, all in one easy-to-use platform. You can even create custom automations just for your workflow. Upgrade to shipping software that does more than keep up with your business. ShipStation propels it forward. Start with 60-day free trial at shipstation.com/skip. That's a 60-day free trial. ShipStation.com/skip. Skip.com/ my first name, SKIP. Try it for me. Okay. Allow me to conclude by getting angry once again about Shedeur Sanders. Now I'm really out of my mind over this one because I didn't see this one coming. So there was the report the other day from Adam Schefter that Shedeur, and possibly advised by his father, Deion Sanders, that somebody from that camp, starting with Shedeur, turned down the Baltimore Ravens when they apprised, I assume, Deion via Ozzie Newsome, the great Ozzie Newsome, who's still advising in Baltimore, knew Deion very well when Deion played for the Ravens. I'm assuming that Ozzie gave Deion the heads up just before the pick was to be made. We're thinking about Shedeur. This is 5th round, when he's fallen all the way through 4, incomprehensibly, regrettably, shamefully. And I assume Ozzie was just giving a heads up. I don't think Ozzie was looking for a yay or nay, because the truth is you can't do that unless you're Archie Manning with Eli Manning at the very top of the draft and you force a trade. That can be done in negotiations that could go on for weeks before the draft. This is on the fly, on the clock. Ozzie, I'm assuming, telling Deion, hey, just heads up, thinking about this. And Shedeur responding, no, I don't want to go there. Shedeur thinking he was going to go 1st overall. I thought he should have gone 1st overall. My friend Mel Kiper had him ranked above Cam Ward in his final assessment before the draft. Mel Kiper, the great Mel Kiper Jr. But the league wanted to teach Deion and Shedeur a lesson, because Shedeur did not say all the right things in his pre-draft meetings with several teams. He was too brazen, too cocky, too irreverent, too into himself, because he really believes that he can be a star in this league, and so do I. And so does his daddy. So obviously on the fly, when he gets hit with Baltimore, well, there's obviously Lamar, but by then Baltimore had signed my backup quarterback, who I have frequently called the best backup quarterback in the league, in Cooper Rush. So now Shedeur at a glance is saying, Lamar, Cooper Rush, me, what chance do I have of playing as a rookie? Be a long shot. You never know. Quarterbacks do get hurt, as we've already seen, God knows. But still something of a long shot. And Shedeur said, no, I'll let the chips fall. They couldn't have known about Cleveland yet. And I'm pretty sure Cleveland did not call Deion and say, we're thinking about. Cleveland just took him, because that's what you do in the 5th round. You just take somebody whether they like it or not. But I'm sure Shedeur thought, I'm better than Dillon Gabriel. They took Dillon Gabriel 50 slots above Shedeur, 3rd round. 50 slots. I know Dillon Gabriel. I watched him for 2 years, University of Oklahoma, some last year at Oregon, even some the year before. Where was he? Central Florida. Shedeur is better than Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur, if given the opportunity, will be much better in pro football than Dillon Gabriel. As much as I like Dillon Gabriel, and I've told you before, he's better than Tua. Maybe that's not saying a whole lot, but he's better than Tua, and he's built and looks a lot like Tua, also from Hawaii, left-handed. Better than Tua. But Shedeur, I'm sure the moment he hears Cleveland, he's thinking Flacco can't be too long. They had Kenny Pickett, Dillon Gabriel. Maybe I can figure this out. Maybe it'll be craziness. It's always crazy in Cleveland. Maybe something will happen, and maybe that's with a bad team. in desperate search of a new quarterback. Maybe he'd have a better chance there. And I'm thinking, okay. My only thought about Baltimore, now that I know what I know, is that with Baltimore, at least you learn from two of the best in being professional, being a pro. How do you be a pro? Show me Lamar, show me Cooper Rush. Show me how to do it. Let me feel the tradition in Baltimore. Let me learn how to do this the right way. Let me rehabilitate my image. Let me restore some credibility in Baltimore so that maybe at trade deadline, some team will say, well, he's been learning from Lamar. He's restored his professionalism inside the Raider culture. I'm sorry, the Raven culture, not Raider. And maybe he's worth a shot. Maybe that would improve his trade sort of stock, if you will. Just improve his stock a little bit, where maybe somebody would say, okay, I like the way he's handled himself in Baltimore. I'll take a shot. Instead, he goes to Cleveland. Cleveland pretty quickly moves Kenny Pickett out. Good. Shedeur gets thrown into the fire. Craziness ensued. You got quarterback injuries everywhere. And so he gets thrown into the fire with some backups, at least some twos, some second stringers in that first preseason game, and he lights it up. He showed you exactly what I knew he would. He's that good. Should have been the first pick in the draft. That's how good he is. If he ever gets a shot, he got a shot. He showed you. He performed at a high level. Got thrown into the third preseason game in the second half with 4s and 5s, and it didn't look very good. He held the ball too long. He's trying to make a play, desperate. But you saw what you saw in the first preseason game. So the other day, I'm thinking, well, at least in Cleveland, at least if Flacco's going to get banged up, they're probably going to get Dylan Gabriel in there. I don't know, 5th, 6th game. They still have a pretty good defense, a very good defense. And I'm thinking, you never know what could happen to Dylan Gabriel. He's smallish. Maybe Shedeur gets his shot. And then I stumble upon the fact that the Cleveland Browns did this to Shedeur Sanders, and I missed it because it happened just before the season started. It was actually very late August, the very end of August. They re-signed a player they had cut. You'll remember him from New England, Bailey Zappi. They did that to Shedeur Sanders. They went and signed Bailey Zappi because I promise you, Kevin Stefanski, the notorious Kevin Stefanski, who did in Baker Mayfield, did in Shedeur with Bailey Zappi. Bailey Zappi, kid from Victoria, Texas, went to Houston Baptist, then he went to Western Kentucky, and the great Bill Belichick, 2022, said, you know what? I might have missed the boat on this Mac Jones kid. Yeah, I took him in the first round. I thought he could be my next Brady, but I don't love him. I really kind of like this Bailey Zappi out of Western Kentucky. I'm going to use a 4th-round pick on Bailey Zappi, and I'm going to give him a chance when he's a rookie. He started 2 games, did Bailey Zappi as a rookie, and Belichick loved him. He looked pretty good. Next year, he started 6 games for Belichick as the wheels fell off in New England. And trust me, the league takes that to heart because the league still way overestimates and overvalues Bill Belichick, who was a product of Tom Brady, but nobody wants to hear that, even though I keep saying it. My point to you is that Stefanski idolizes Belichick, and Stefanski's thinking to himself, if Belichick loved this kid, I should love this kid. So even though they had cut him after he started one game in Cleveland late last year, I think it was the last game, and they moved on. But then he's thinking, you just know, Stefanski has no use for Shedeur Sanders. No use. That was an ownership. That was a Jimmy Haslam special. Jimmy Haslam just wanted the quick fix of publicity, take some of the onus and attention off what a mess they've made of the Cleveland Browns. So he said, take Shedeur Sanders. Just take him. We'll get all the media attention in training camp about Shedeur, not about how we're, in odds, the worst team in the league in preseason Super Bowl odds. They re-signed Bailey Zappi, and there was a report this past week in ESPN Cleveland that a lot of the practice snaps are now being split between Flacco, of course, Dylan Gabriel, and Bailey Zappi, and that Shedeur is mostly watching. Bailey Zappi's only 26, so he started, 2 + 6, 9 games. He started 9 games. And don't think that Stefanski doesn't take that to his mental bank. He clearly values Bailey Zappi over Shedeur Sanders. My point to you is that Shedeur is still stuck in hell in Cleveland. Should have been the first overall pick. And now he can't get on the practice field even for the scout team in Cleveland, freaking Ohio. It's just so wrong. It's so unfair. It's so shameful. And I'm still sure that there are GMs and scouts around this league laughing their asses off about what happened to Shedeur and to his father as they got taught a lesson. We showed them we do it our way. We don't do it their way. We don't have music in the locker room. We don't have DJs in the locker room at halftime and pregame. We don't do that. We don't drive 3 or 4 exotic cars while we're in college. We don't do that if we're going to be the face of an NFL franchise. That's the attitude of this league. And Stefanski got him again by bringing in, of all people, Bailey Zappi. So I thought Shedeur might have a chance. Now, I'm pretty sure in the pecking order, it may not be listed that way on the depth chart, but in the pecking order in the mind of one Kevin Stefanski, it goes Fluco, then little Dylan Gabriel, and then Bailey Zappi, Belichick's favorite son. He's third in the mind of Kevin Stefanski, and I'm sure Kevin would love to give him another start or two this year because he probably thinks he can turn into something in this league because Bill said he could. I'm sorry, it just makes me sick. I don't want to say I'm praying for this because I don't pray for things like this, but I do pray for Shedeur just to find some peace somewhere, like somehow, some way, something happened where God is good and Shedeur just gets an opportunity elsewhere, somewhere except that hellhole that has become Cleveland, Ohio. Maybe he should have gone to the Ravens. Maybe he should have been the first overall pick. That's it for today's episode. I want to thank Tyler Korn for producing. Thanks to Ernestine for overseeing, and especially thanks to Hazel for approving.